Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a peaceful and wonderful day. In today's video, we'll explore a heartbreaking question. What happens when a single misunderstanding turns a loving home into a night of fear and regret, and a small child suddenly disappears without a trace? Stay with us to uncover how love, panic, and hope collide in this emotional story. And if you enjoy heartfelt stories like this, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming videos. In the soft afternoon glow filtering through the room, Grandpa slowly lowers himself onto the cool wooden floor beside Nye. She sits cross-legged, small hands busy, eyes bright with endless curiosity. Toys are scattered everywhere. An orange duck tipped on its side, a little car wearing a funny hat, color sticks still dry, waiting to be dipped into water. Grandpa picks them up one by one, examining them as if each were a treasure. His voice is deep and gentle, calm like a familiar song. "Which one do you like more?" he asks, holding up the duck. Then the car. "This one has a hat, see?" Nee squeals and points, her laughter bouncing off the walls, filling the quiet room with pure joy. Grandpa smiles and nods, guiding her hands patiently. "We have to dip it in water first. Watch what happens." Her tiny fingers follow his lead. The moment the brush touches the paper, colors bloom. Orange, yellow, red, spreading in soft, uneven lines. Nye gasps, delighted, then laughs again. Louder this time, Grandpa chuckles, his eyes crinkling as he leans closer, steadying her hand when the brush wobbles. For a brief, fragile moment, time seems to slow down. There's nothing else in the world but this small circle on the floor. Warm hands, quiet words, shared laughter. The afternoon light fades gently through the window, and the room feels like it's holding its breath, protecting this perfect scene. Grandpa watches Nee with a soft smile, his heart full, as if everything he's ever known fits right there in front of him. Nye looks up, meeting his eyes. There's no fear there, no doubt, only trust. Complete, innocent trust. No one could imagine that just minutes later, this warmth would collapse into panic, that the laughter would vanish and leave behind only a ringing silence. As the daylight thins, darkness begins to settle. Not outside first, but inside another room entirely. Diep curls in on herself on the sofa, her body shaking, tears streaming without pause. Her voice breaks again and again. "If I don't have Nye, I don't know how I can live." James is on his knees beside her, gripping her hand tightly, holding on as if letting go would make everything fall apart. He forces his voice to stay steady. "We'll find her. We will." But his eyes tell a different story. Fear screams there, loud and uncontrolled. Diep shakes her head, breath hitching. "It's my fault. I promised I'd pick her up, and I didn't come." James leans closer, his voice low, firm, almost like an oath. "Nye saved my life the moment she came into it. We're not losing her. Not now. Not ever." The air feels thick, heavy. Every breath hurts. They stand and rush outside, calling Nye's name down the quiet street. Just hours ago, laughter had echoed here. Now, their voices fall into empty space. Each step feels like crushing something fragile underfoot. Memories that were still warm only moments earlier. Diep breaks down, burying her face in her hands. James stares at his phone, eyes red, mind racing. Regret crashes over him in waves. If only he'd come earlier. If only one small choice had been different. Now all that's left is the sharp pain of being too late. The neighborhood remains calm, almost cruel in its order and safety. Lights glow softly behind closed doors. Everything looks normal, and that makes it worse. Inside their chests, a storm rages, wild, desperate, threatening to pull them under. Back inside, the living room is dim, washed in dull yellow light. Diep and James sit in silence, faces pale and hollow. Mom steps in, her voice firm but strained. "I've already called the police." 2 officers arrive shortly after. They speak calmly, professionally. This area is very safe. Almost every house has cameras. They review footage together, second by second, frame by frame. Sidewalks, doors, corners, nothing. No strangers, no unusual movement. "No sign of kidnapping," one officer says. Diep grips James's hand harder. Her eyes are bloodshot, desperate. "Then where is she?" James swallows. "Our home camera is broken," he says quietly. "We don't have any footage." The room sinks deeper into silence. The officers exchange a glance, then offer reassurance. "Kidnapping here is extremely unlikely. We'll expand the search first thing in the morning." Their words feel thin, fragile. They don't reach deep. She paces the room, arms wrapped around herself, as if trying to hold her heart together. James sits frozen, staring at nothing, his thoughts spiraling into places he doesn't want to see. Mom rests a trembling hand on Diep's shoulder. "Nye will be okay," she says, but her voice wavers. The light flickers. So does hope. Each passing second without answers feels heavier than the last. They are stuck between reality and belief, between fear and the desperate need to trust that Nye is safe somewhere. Silence presses in, thick and suffocating. Diep suddenly stops pacing, her voice breaking again. Someone must have taken her. James drops to his knees in front of her, hands gripping her shoulders. "Don't say that. It can't happen here." But Diep shakes her head violently. Images flood her mind. Dark streets, a stranger's hand, Nye's small voice calling out. She covers her face, trembling. "If I had come on time, if I hadn't made empty promises," Mom tries to intervene. "The police said," "I know," Diep cries, her chest heaving. "But what if they're wrong?" James pulls her into his arms, holding her tightly. His voice is low, steady, even as his heart breaks. "We're all hurting, but we need to stay strong. Nye needs us calm." Diep presses her face into his chest, her sobs slowly softening into shallow, broken breaths. The fear doesn't disappear. It just sinks deeper, smoldering beneath the surface. No one says it out loud, but the worst possibility hangs over them like a shadow that won't leave. They sit together in silence, 3 people trapped between fragile hope and unbearable dread. Outside, night begins to fall, quiet and indifferent. Inside, every second feels like a blade, cutting deeper into their hearts. Beneath a roadside tree, the last of the afternoon light fades into a dull, dusty gold. A small child sits on the curb, knees pulled close, arms wrapped tightly around a worn stuffed bear whose fur has thinned with love. Tears slide down round cheeks, dropping quietly onto the concrete. A tiny voice calls out again and again, growing weaker each time. "Mommy, Mommy." Earlier, she had been told, "Sit here and wait. I'll be back after work." At first, waiting felt easy. Minutes passed, then more. The sun shifted. Shadows stretched. Still, no familiar figure appeared. A middle-aged woman walking by slows her steps and crouches down. Her voice is gentle, careful not to frighten the child. "Are you waiting for your mom, sweetheart? She told you to stay right here?" The child nods, eyes swollen and red, clutching the bear even tighter. The woman glances around the street, uneasy. "She'll come back soon," she says softly. "Just stay here, okay? Don't go wandering off." Another passerby pauses, looks down, then shakes her head. "I don't know where your mom is," she murmurs, already stepping away. The child reaches out with one hand, hope flaring for a moment. "Auntie, can you help me find Mommy?" The woman hesitates, then gently pulls her hand back. "I can't take you, dear. What if your mom comes back and can't find you? Stay here. She'll return." The child lowers her head. Tears drip onto the pavement, one by one. Cars pass, tires humming against the road. Somewhere nearby, laughter floats through the air, light and distant. But around the child, there is only loneliness, cold and heavy. Each person who stops sparks a flicker of hope. Each person who leaves extinguishes it again. She hugs the stuffed bear close to her chest and whispers, barely audible, "Mommy, I miss you." As twilight deepens, her small shadow stretches long across the sidewalk, thin and fragile amid the endless movement of strangers who keep walking, unaware. Back at the house, night has fully settled. Street lamps cast dull yellow pools of light across the porch, illuminating James's exhausted face. He stands outside for a long moment, staring into the darkness as if the answers might be hidden there. "Nye," he whispers into the quiet, his voice cracking. "Where are you right now?" Inside, Diep is slumped over the table, hands covering her face. Her voice is hoarse, raw from crying. "I'm scared," she says. "I'm scared we won't find her." James steps back inside and kneels beside her, placing a steady hand over hers. "We will," he says quietly. "We have to believe that." She looks up at him, eyes hollow. What if something terrible already happened? James shakes his head immediately, firm, almost sharp. "No, don't go there. We still have time. We still have chances." He stands and gently helps her up, keeping his grip steady. "Tomorrow, we keep searching. The police will widen the area. We can't fall apart now." Mom lingers nearby, eyes red, lips pressed together. She forces a small smile that trembles at the edges. "This is the moment to hold on," she says softly. "As hard as it is." Diep wipes her cheeks, nodding faintly. Her body still feels weak, but something inside her shifts, just slightly. She leans into James as he wraps an arm around her shoulders. "You're my anchor," he whispers. "And I'm yours. We'll get through this." They sit side by side, shoulders touching, not speaking. The fear is still there. The regret still burns. But they choose to stay upright instead of collapsing. Outside, the night feels endless and vast. Inside their hearts, a tiny flame flickers, weak, unsteady, but alive. Then suddenly, the front door swings open. Laughter spills into the room. Grandpa steps inside, his face bright, holding Nee's hand. She's smiling from ear to ear, cheeks flushed, eyes sparkling with excitement. For a split second, no one moves. Then Diep screams Nee's name and rushes forward, dropping to her knees and pulling her into a fierce, desperate embrace. Tears pour freely as she clutches the child close. "Nye, where have you been? Do you know how scared I was?" Nye giggles, wrapping her arms around Diep's neck. "Grandpa took me out." Grandpa laughs, loud and warm. "I came back early from my business trip. She wanted to play, so I took her out for the afternoon. We went to the ball pit, helped sell pumpkins, bought her new clothes, and even had sweet soup." James stands frozen for a moment, shock giving way to relief so intense it almost knocks him off balance. Then he laughs, a breathless, disbelieving sound, and steps forward, clapping Grandpa on the shoulder. Do you have any idea what you just put us through? Mom exhales sharply, half laughing, half crying. Next time, she scolds, pointing a finger. You tell everyone first. Nee spins in place, proudly showing off her new outfit. Today was so fun. I sold all the pumpkins. The tension that had filled the house for hours shatters all at once, breaking into waves of laughter and tears. Diep holds Nee tightly, pressing her face into her hair. Don't ever scare me like that again, she whispers. Promise me. I promise, Nye says seriously, then grins. James looks at Grandpa, eyes shining. Thank you, he says, his voice thick. Thank you for bringing her back. Grandpa ruffles Nye's hair, still smiling. Next time, I'll let everyone know. I promise. The family gathers close, filling the room with overlapping voices, relief, and warmth. Hours of fear dissolve like mist under morning sun. Nee sits at the center, animatedly retelling every detail of her adventure, hands moving wildly as she speaks. Diep and James exchange a long look, one filled with exhaustion, gratitude, and a quiet understanding. A simple mistake, a terrifying lesson, and a reminder of how fragile, how precious everything truly is. That night, the house glows again. Darkness retreats, replaced by laughter and soft conversation. The bond between them feels deeper now, stronger, shaped by fear, sealed by love. After the storm, what remains is not the panic seeps or the regret, but the warmth of being together again, holding tight to what matters most.